talk. I'm delighted to say now I'm joined by Harry Wilkinson, who's the Director of Policy at Net Zero Watch. Harry, welcome to the brand new show, Morning Glory we're calling it, because Claire Coutinho, who's the Energy Secretary, apparently has discovered the light. She came out in a speech yesterday and actually said that she does not want net zero to crush business, which is pretty much the sort of conversations that you and I have been having for a couple of years now.
That's right. Well, I certainly didn't expect that we'd be having this conversation and hearing this language from Claire Coutinho this soon. She said the Leviathan, the net zero Leviathan could strangle our enterprise economy. This is exactly the kind of thing that we've been warning about at Net Zero Watch. And she was saying that we're at a fork in the road between this approach that just limits and targets everything you can do, and the state decides what technologies people will use, right. Or you can have the free market, you could have competition, you could have businesses competing to provide the green technologies that people need. Right. And you know, that's exactly what we've been saying should be the case.
Well, of course, ever since the beginning of time, I've said, if I want to buy an electric car, make it cheaper, make it more efficient, make it in some way greener. But we've now been told they're not really greener, they're certainly not cheaper, and they're not more efficient. And at the end of the day, what we've now realised is that the car business, I think it was Vauxhall who came out last week and said that, you know, the new level of production of Chinese electric cars is going to basically swamp Europe, and any car manufacturer in Europe manufacturing electric cars is going to get done over, because they're going to be so much cheaper and they're going to be so much more popular that basically the manufacturing side of the business of car making in Europe will disappear altogether.
Well, there's huge hurdles in the net zero journey at the moment. Yeah. I mean, you look at EVs, you look at how much better as well as cheaper these Chinese EVs are, and you see these targets that the UK government has set, which actually force people to buy EVs. So we'd like to see that language from Claire actually reflected in the policy. She held back from setting heat pump targets in a similar way earlier this year. That was a positive step, but you know, it was only a few months ago that she actually set compulsory targets for EVs. She can now reject those. She can drop that policy and fully commit to the approach that she outlined yesterday, which would be based on free choice, and that could avoid some of these risks that we're seeing from either, you know, being dependent on Chinese vehicles or just lumbering people with expensive cars that no one really wants to buy.
Well, not only no one wants to buy, but that nobody wants to buy second-hand, because the second-hand market for electric vehicles has fallen off a cliff, and so has the new market for them as well, because a lot of the subsidies that were in place have disappeared. And it was the case that the sales were going up because a lot of companies were buying fleets of electric cars, which they're now no longer doing. So, I mean, that's one side of it. But when you look into also the just general sort of net zero mantra that's been going on for so many years, we saw Humza Useless losing his job effectively by firing the Greens. The Greens went into apoplexy and sort of had a massive tantrum. But he worked out that actually there are people who are very dependent on the oil and gas business in Scotland who might not vote for them if they do away with oil and gas in Scotland.
Well, the consumer, the individual, the family have been left out of the net zero conversation for years. And, you know, politicians ignore ordinary people at their peril. If they can't provide the goods and services that people need affordably, you know, all of this will self-combust. So, you know, I would echo that call again for Claire Coutinho to really embrace an approach that's about free choice, that's about not forcing people to use technologies that they don't want to use. Right. And then I think the market will be able to provide alternatives, and actually that will happen quicker than if we go down all these blind alleys of picking winners and those fail time and time again.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Good to talk to you. Thank you very much. Harry Wilkinson, their Director of Policy at Net Zero Watch. Julie